Okay, whether you're just wearing down at the end of the school year, thinking about the curriculum that you need to finish, or just making plans for next year, sometimes we can just get curriculum fatigue and we're just tired of thinking about it. Welcome to my channel, Learning with Boys. My name is Rachel. I am a homeschool mom of 4 boys. I have graduated too. I have a 6th grader and an 11th grader this school year, and we are definitely wearing down and hoping to finish on the date that we have marked, but we still have a ways to go. And I am just having to make some decisions, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But I do want to encourage you also, if you're looking at next year and all the curriculum, all the choices, you start looking through catalogs, you'll be looking online, making comparisons. Maybe you borrowed some curriculum. I've done that before. And to get an idea from a friend what that curriculum actually looks like in person. Maybe you're like me and you're sort of waiting because I'm getting ready to go to a homeschool convention and there's a few things I want to look at in person myself and go through. Maybe you're also making decisions of like, do I want a workbook style or do I want a living book type of curriculum? Do I want an online curriculum? Do I want something that they could be independent and just read through and answer questions? Or maybe I want a video where they're watching somebody and then have a notebook and answer questions that way. There's so many choices out there that you can definitely start to feel overwhelmed, especially if you're new homeschooler, but even in the transition of ages, as they move into middle school and then into high school, there are just some decisions that need to be made. And when they get to those ages, I like to pull them in and sort of include them. I give them a couple choices, let them look over and help me decide. But in the process, there's some things that I really need to think about. And I know sometimes I'm at the point, who needs the curriculum? Let's just get it done. But I do need the curriculum. For me, it is a tool. Sometimes it is just my guide. Sometimes it teaches me to teach the subject, but in the end, it does not control our homeschooling, and we can choose what we will and will not do. So right now, having an 11th grader, you definitely start feeling the curriculum fatigue because you want to be done. But they have some requirements, but I as the teacher get to set the goals of what I want him to have done and what I want him to have finished. So I feel that is important. Need a guideline that they can follow, but also as we're following it, it's okay sometimes to swerve off a little bit and maybe even cut the line short. So I hope that encourages you a little bit that you are the teacher, not the curriculum. So as we're thinking about next school year, it really first needs to be taken to the Lord in prayer. Even as you're researching, Lord, if it's something I don't even need to be looking at, help me not to waste my time, because you could really spend a lot when you are researching out curriculum. So we don't want to be wasting a lot of time, and I've done that. I've researched ridiculously, but at the same time, I was seriously praying, and the Lord did lead me to certain things that to even this day that I am still using and very thankful for, that has helped us through our homeschool journey. But I know at each child, we need to be praying over them. What is going to help them? How intense of a curriculum do I need to pick? Or do I need to let this subject be a little bit easier this school year? Just giving it to the Lord, asking Him to be with you and guide you and just give you peace about the choices that you do make. Just one thing that I encourage you to think about is time. I feel like sometimes we overschedule what we want to accomplish, and sometimes we don't make room for even our children's interests or maybe some family priorities that need to be set also. So really, the best thing to do is make sure, when you're thinking about next year, think about what you have coming up. Maybe you have a baby on the way. Congratulations. Maybe you are moving to a new home. Again, congratulations. Maybe you have one that's getting ready to graduate, and you know that things will come up that they need to be involved in. Maybe you have some that are in sports, and you know the fall schedule will be busier than the spring schedule. You really need to take all that into consideration, and what curriculum you're going to use can help that run smoothly, or it can really just discourage your whole journey that year. So as you're thinking about what you're using for curriculum, I just want to remind you, and I've talked about this in my videos before, but just to focus on the 3 R's when you're making choices for the next school year. And keep in mind how you teach and how much time that you have. Is this going to take a lot of your time with that specific student? Maybe you have 4 or 5 or 6 kids and you really think, okay, and this is how I've been. There's been years where, you know, I have all 4 of them schooling, and I'm thinking, okay, I really need to help my high schooler with this particular subject, but I have my little guy that I'm still needing to learn to read. So my 2 middle ones need to be a little bit more independent this school year. They're not going to miss anything. Nothing's going to put them behind, as long as they're, you know, stay on track. So finding some curriculum that would help make that transition for them run a little bit smoothly, so I could focus on these 2 extremes would be helpful. That's just one example. Maybe you have a child with special needs and you know that you have to spend this specific time with him or her, and think about how long that's going to take you. Is it in different time settings throughout the day? Can you do it all in one time? Do you have to take them to therapy? Lots of different things that you're going to have to consider as you're pulling in curriculum for your other children, because there is a lot of good curriculum out there, but a lot of it can be very parent teacher intensive. And if you are in a season where you have that time, or maybe you're like me and you're narrowing down to only having 1 at home. My oldest will be a senior. He will be doing a couple things. I will talk about that in a future video. But I do have other responsibilities that I did not have when my boys were younger. So I still have to find the balance of it all. So if you're like me in the early years, I loved Pinterest. I spent, you know, we were going to be talking about a specific subject about weather for science. I wanted to find out what I could print off, what experiment we could do, what craft we could do. But that was easy when I didn't have all the running around to do, and maybe I just had like a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old and an 8-year-old, because they were all home and they weren't quite there to have real strong specific interests yet, besides maybe reading or playing outside. So I could take extra time with doing a big project like that. And even there were seasons where it wasn't something I did all year long. I might think, okay, this month I think I can handle doing something. I remember one year we didn't do a lot because I think that was probably the year that I had my 4th one. And so President's Day was coming up, and I thought it would be fun to let them pick a president that they would like to research, read a book on, and dress up. So we sort of made some homemade outfits for them. But I had to know that I could mentally and physically handle that at that time. I hope that makes sense, because sometimes we can get some great expectations, but they're not in reality of what we are really capable of doing as moms, as homeschool moms, at that time, at that season. So deciding on what you truly can manage. And it may be something where you just start with the basics and you get into the school year and think, ooh, we could do that. And that's sort of how I was that year. I just took it step by step, day by day, on what we were going to be able to take on. But remember, that's going to look different every year. My kids were little. Now my kids are older. I have some that have graduated. I can look at it totally different light. So think about your time. not just what's on the calendar, but physically, mentally, how much time and energy, the energy is it going to pull from you, because you do have a household that you're caring for. You do wear a lot of hats, a lot of other responsibilities. So another thing to think about is your child themselves. As they get a little bit older, they are going to grow new interests that they want to spend a little bit more time on. And even when my boys were little, they loved to be outside. And I really encourage that, really at all ages. My teenager still, like mentally, has to go outside to just shoot some baskets and come back in and do his schoolwork. Being outside really helps. And the more that you can do that, I think it does give them more clarity, more energy. Okay, another thing is, as you're thinking about what curriculum works for you as the teacher, do you want to be something teacher intensive? Do you want them to be independent? You really need to think about the student themselves. What subject is it? Is it one they need help in? Should I get something online? Maybe you could get a tutor or do a co-op that would help them in that subject. Maybe they learn best through living books. I know my boys are personally that way, but then I know several people that say their kids just want a textbook, just want to open it up and answer questions. So you really need to, and the thing with that is that you find out that I bought all this curriculum for this child that just wants to do the schoolwork and answer the questions, and it's not working for the next one. So here we are, curriculum fatigue, research again. And as homeschool moms, we can help each other out. We learn a lot along the journey about different curriculum that works well for different children. So I've had all, even with just 4, they were probably learned all differently. And that is okay. That's why we homeschool. So we can tailor their education around their needs, around the way they learn, because that's going to give them the best education. All right, so I hope this was encouraging. I just wanted to share some thoughts with you that I have learned that have helped me in the process of finishing up the school year and looking forward and making plans for the next. So I will be putting out my curriculum choice videos very soon. I hope to share some of how it goes at the convention. And I do appreciate you all watching, and we will talk to you again soon.